The reason white people get so upset when Black people are celebrated is because they believe we only exist to serve them or entertain them. If we do something within our own community for us that doesn't replicate some form of servitude or involve them at all, they feel left out. In their minds, our only purpose is to exist to serve them in some way. They believe that we should inherently sacrifice our bodies for them and do not see us as human with our own autonomy, our own ideologies, interests, capabilities.
All right, we're back. That was rookie lighting. Yeah, so I felt the need to repost this video because it touched home in terms of like experiences. So kind of just a quick story time. It was about 3 or 4 years ago. I had a patient that I was treating. The way that it works is that patients normally get radiation for over an extended period of time. So let's say a patient's getting 5 weeks of radiation. They get radiation Monday through Friday. And while they're getting the radiation treatments, myself and my attending, I'll see the patient in clinic once a week for what's called an on-treatment visit. And at these visits, I'm doing a very targeted physical exam. I'm assessing skin checks, and additionally, I'm like assessing, mental health. I'm checking in on animals. I like to know everything. So I had a patient about 3 or 4 years ago who was receiving radiation, so 5 weeks, so that's 25 fractions every day, not on the weekends. And it was probably like my third or fourth time seeing the patient at this point, so we had already established like a good rapport. Everything was cool. So I walk into the room and the patient goes, "Hey, Dr. Washington." I'm like, "Hey, what's up? Whatever, whatever." The patient is there with their significant other. Cool. We busted it up. We're having a good time. I'm asking about the dogs. Cool, 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 cool. As I'm logging into the computer, um, the patient goes, "Oh, Dr. Washington, I wanted to tell you a joke that me and my, significant other, we went to a comedy show, and the comedian said this joke." So the patient goes, "Yeah, so to kind of finish off the comedian's act or segment, whatever, they ended off with like a race joke." So now I'm already like, "Oh, where are we going with this?" So I turn to the patient because I need them to have a very clear visual of my face and my reactions because I emote a lot, um, and I'm not playing. So fast forward, the patient like, "Yeah, the comedian started off the segment by saying like, oh, I don't know why Black people always say that they want to go back to Africa." So I literally, when the patient said that, I looked and I was just like, I was already looking, but like my head kind of turned to the side, and I was just like, okay, I'm trying to figure out where we're going with this. So the patient proceeds to tell me the joke. Apparently, the comedian was like, "Yeah, I don't know why Black people want to go back to Africa. Without them, like, we wouldn't have like good sports, we wouldn't have good food, we wouldn't have good, they're really entertaining in movies. They make movies, sports, and a lot of things entertaining." And so the patient ends off the rant, and they're like, "Yeah, like, we hope, Black people, we hope they don't go back to Africa. They're entertaining." So I looked at the patient like this, and then I looked at the patient's significant other, and they said, "And, they're entertaining," as if I'm not. Sorry, that was my intrusive thoughts. My bad. So when this happened, I looked at the ground because I needed to make sure that I was still on the ground. And then I looked at the patient. I looked at the computer. I logged out of the computer, and I walked out of the room. I said, "I'll be back." I walked out of the room and I never saw the patient again. To be clear, like I don't demonize races. That's just not my thing. But and I also have a very high threshold to to label someone as a racist. It's just my thing. However, my threshold for disrespect in that category is extremely low. I'm extremely sensitive to microaggressions. I like to call them out. Um, you know, I think behavior needs to be checked when it happens. We're not gonna wait. I'm gonna let you know, whatever, whatever. But I think as a Black resident, as a Black trainee in medicine, it's extremely hard when you have a lot of stressors. There's a lot of pressure to perform. There's a lot of pressure to kind of, just do excellent and do well, and not like, go against the grain. You don't want to ruffle any feathers. Um, But I think it's very important to have a very strong sense of self. I think it's extremely important to have support systems, so allies, people that are outside of the hospital, friends, loved ones, family members, mentors at other places, mentors that are actually in your same department. I think it's extremely important for, Black residents because, or just Black people in medicine because there's so much happening right now. And it's crazy that we're here. And in an environment where it feels like everything you've worked for um, is viewed as you only got there because of the tone of or complexion of your skin, it can be demoralizing. Um, so my parting words is just like find your support system, find people who create safe spaces for you, find people that you can trust. It's hard out here. Medicine makes things a lot harder. Imagine like having a workplace environment, but also medicine attached to that. It kind of exacerbates a lot of things.
Knock, knock.
But we're
Dashing
on this
through the
journey
snow
to
in
be
one
the
horse
best
open
doctor that we can
sleigh.
be.
O'er the fields we
That's the
go,
goal.
laughing all the
So,
way.
yeah, that's my
Bells on
parting words.
bobtail ring,
All right,
making
y'all.
spirits
Peace.
bright. What fun it is to
Where in the United States are Black Americans actually thriving right now? I'm Liz, the creator of Up, party games celebrating Black experiences from college to the workplace. This ranking actually looks at income, education, home ownership, and employment. Number 10 on the list goes to Ogden, Utah. Number 9 goes to Baltimore, Maryland. Number 8 goes to Raleigh, North Carolina. Number 7 goes to San Antonio, Texas. Number 6 goes to Oxnard, California. Number 5, no surprise here, goes to Atlanta, Georgia. Number 3, there's a tie, goes to Poughkeepsie, New York, and Provo, Utah. Number 2 goes to Austin, Texas. And number 1 goes to Chocolate City, Washington, D.C. This list comes from a lending tree analysis of U.S. Census Bureau data. Remember that the U.S. Census is only conducted once every 10 years, with the next one coming up in 2030. Stay tuned for more content celebrating Black experiences, and remember to up to Black excellence.
The truth is, Black excellence scare them. Yes. See, a lot of them do not, how do I put this? It's not like a lot of them don't want Black doctors to attend to them. But a lot of them are scared that we are too good to attend to them. It is the competency inside of us, the greatness that is showing forth. So when you see some certain kind of people being so reluctant, being so ignorant, being so brutal when it comes to Black excellence, just know that your blueprints do not even deserve to touch any of those kind of people. Let's go continue watching this video. Welcome back to the channel. My name is Sonia. Subscribe, like, comment, and share, and credit belong to the original creators of every single clips and stitches we have in our today's episode. I want to say a very big thank you to every single one of you liking, commenting, sharing, dropping super thanks, and also joining my membership. I do not take you guys for granted, and I want you guys to watch the remaining part of the clip that I have for you guys, and I'll be back with commentaries because I have some things to say at the end of this video. Disclaimers, this is just for educational purposes only. Let's go watch, guys.
Every time Black Americans take a step forward in this country, white supremacists throw a tantrum. We call it progress, they call it a threat. And every era of advancement, every hard-won inch toward equality has been met with a violent wave of backlash. So, let's talk about it. Donald Trump recently reposted a meme on Truth Social blaming Barack and Michelle Obama for worsening racism, saying they set America back 100 years. This coming from a man whose entire public life has been steeped in racism, from refusing to rent apartments to Black tenants in the 1970s, to calling for the death penalty for the Central Park Five, Black and brown teenage boys at the time, even after they were proven innocent, to spreading the racist birther lie that President Obama wasn't born in America. And now, in 2025, he's just proving that the playbook never changed, only the players did. When enslaved people were freed, what came next? Reconstruction. Black men winning elections, opening schools, building communities. And after that, the Ku Klux Klan, voter suppression, lynching campaigns, and the violent overthrow of Black-led governments across the South. Progress met with terror. I did make a video on Reconstruction a while back, so go check it out. When Black veterans came home from World War I in uniform, having fought for democracy abroad, white mobs murdered them for daring to expect democracy at home. That became known as the Red Summer of 1919. In one of the most haunting examples, a Black soldier named Wilbur Little was lynched in Georgia for refusing to take off his army uniform after stepping off the train that brought him home from war. He had risked his life for a country that still refused to see him as a man. And he wasn't the only one. Across the nation, white mobs attacked Black veterans simply for wearing their uniforms in public, because those uniforms symbolized equality. And then there's Tulsa. When Black prosperity blossomed in Tulsa's Greenwood district, a thriving neighborhood known as Black Wall Street, the backlash was swift and brutal. Greenwood wasn't just wealthy, it was successful on its own terms. Black doctors, lawyers, barbershops, grocery stores, newspapers, tailors, hotels, and a fully functioning economy built by Black families who were shut out of white society. Some residents were millionaires in today's dollars, all of it built just 50 years after slavery was abolished. Proof that Black excellence could flourish when given even a sliver of space. And that's exactly why white supremacists burned it all down. In 1921, after a false accusation against a Black teenager, white mobs, many deputized by local police, stormed Greenwood. They looted homes, they set businesses on fire. Eyewitnesses reported private planes dropping incendiary bombs. Black residents were shot in the street or dragged from their homes. By the time it ended, over 35 square blocks were destroyed. Up to 300 Black men, women, and children were killed. More than 10,000 Black residents were left homeless overnight. And not a single white rioter was ever held accountable. Greenwood wasn't destroyed because of crime or chaos or uprisings. It was destroyed because white supremacists couldn't tolerate the sight of Black wealth, Black self-sufficiency, and Black dignity thriving without white control. That's the pattern, and you see it again in the 1960s. After the Civil Rights Act and Voting Rights Act finally outlawed segregation and protected Black voting rights in 1965, white politicians had a problem. They could no longer legally defend segregation. They could no longer say, we don't want Black people in our schools, or we don't want Black people voting. So they rebranded their racism with new language. They called it law and order. Law and order wasn't about crime. It was a political weapon designed to frame Black Americans as dangerous, disruptive, and undeserving without ever mentioning race. Barry Goldwater hinted at it in 1964. Richard Nixon perfected it in 1968. His advisors admitted on tape that law and order was designed to attract racist voters without sounding racist. And the policy fallout was devastating. Mass incarceration, the war on drugs, over-policing Black neighborhoods, mandatory minimums, stop and frisk, all justified by coded language white voters found comforting. Ronald Reagan doubled down with states' rights and the racist welfare queen myth. Bill Clinton expanded the prison industrial complex even further, and Donald Trump wrapped it all in "Make America Great Again," a slogan rooted in turning back the clock on civil rights. Same playbook, same backlash, same message. Black progress is the threat. White grievance is the answer. So when Trump reposts a meme claiming the Obamas made racism worse, understand what he's really saying. that the sight of a black family in the White House, educated, poised, and powerful, was unbearable for people whose identity depends on feeling superior. Obama didn't make America racist. He revealed how deeply racism still runs. Trump is the backlash to it, the embodiment of everything this country refuses to face about itself. This is unfinished history. The same forces that once burned Greenwood, that fought to keep schools segregated, that silenced civil rights leaders, they never disappeared. They just put on suits and ran for office. If we want this cycle to end, white Americans have to stop pretending racism lives in the past. We have to face it in our laws, in our classrooms, in our neighborhoods, and in ourselves. Because silence is what keeps the system alive, and now is not the time for silence. Black Americans shouldn't have to prove their humanity again and again, while those who spread hate are rewarded with power. And yet here we are, a nation still built on denial, still terrified of accountability, still repeating the same cycle because too many white Americans would rather cling to denial than face the truth. But history doesn't move on its own. We do. So the question isn't whether the backlash will fade, it's whether we'll finally have the courage to end it, to confront what's right in front of us, to make sure this time progress doesn't have to start over again. If you'd like to support my work, there's a tip jar in my bio. I truly appreciate it.
Every year, I post a video like this from AMEC, the Annual Medical Education Conference, where Black and Brown pre-med and medical students gather to connect, learn, and build the future of medicine. And every year, without fail, the racist comments roll in. Lower standards, drug dealers, affirmative action. Are they even qualified? Comments proving that when excellence doesn't look like what you're used to, you assume it's a mistake. So let's talk about it. My name's Dr. Joel, the Medical Mythbuster, and let's talk about representation in medicine. First thing I should start with is that every doctor, no matter where they go to medical school, has to take the same Step 1 exam, Step 2 exam, and eventually their board exams. Quality is not lowered for any doctor, and if you made that assumption based on someone's skin color, then hint, you're racist. It's important to also understand history. In the United States, Black Americans make up 13% of the population, but less than 6% of doctors. And that's intentional. It stretches back to 1910, when a report by Abraham Flexner led to the shutdown of 5 of the 7 medical schools that trained Black physicians at the time. That one report decimated the pipeline of Black physicians, because the number one indicator that you become a doctor is having a parent that's a doctor. It wasn't until half a century later, with the Civil Rights Act of 1964, that Black medical students were able to attend previously segregated medical schools. And here's the thing, representation in medicine matters beyond just face value, it's life-saving. Black patients continue to be less likely to be diagnosed accurately, less likely to be believed about their pain, more likely to die from preventable conditions. But studies like this one show that increased representation of Black physicians in a county increase life expectancy and medical adherence in that county. And it doesn't stop there. We can talk about something called the GFR equation. GFR measures kidney function, essentially how well your kidneys work to filter out toxins. But for a long time, there was a racial correction to the GFR equation. That multiplier assumed that all Black patients had better kidney functioning than any other race. Spoiler alert, we don't. That race adjustment delayed access to care and kidney transplants for tens of thousands of Black patients across the United States. It took Black medical students, residents, and doctors to recognize that problem and fix it. Or we can talk about spirometry, a test that measures how much air we can breathe out in one breath. Lung function tests for a long time assumed that Black and Asian patients had lower lung function than any other race. It was based on racist 19th century assumptions, not biology. And that's not medicine. That's systemic racism that's built into our tools that we use today. When it comes to clinical trials, Black people, women, and other minoritized groups are still less likely to be included. That means many of the drugs that we take and the treatments that we trust are tested only on white, able-bodied males, despite there being research that shows, for example, that heart attacks present differently in women than men. That's why representation in medicine matters, why AMEC matters. We're not just here to diversify medicine, we're here to decolonize it, to call out what's broken and to fix it, to rebuild it safer and smarter for everyone, because when you reach the margins, you automatically reach the center. So, say what you want in the comments. It's a reminder of how hard we have to work, the stigma that exists despite our excellence. And while you're commenting, we'll be here, matching into residency, doing our research, decolonizing medicine, and yes, caring for you. Because we're not asking for a seat at the table. We're building the entire clinic.
What will it take for Black Americans in this country to rise to the top tiers economically, socially, politically, and consistently demonstrate at the highest levels in America? We certainly have the talent and we have the numbers. And Marcus Garvey even said before he died, Blacks in America can rise to the top. So I'm just asking you, what would it really take for us to rise to the top tiers in this country? Thank you.
Thank you, dear Black Americans, for your tenacity, your courage, and the unbreakable spirit that refused to bow. Even under chain, pressure, and generation injustice. Thank you for your fighting battles in street, in courtroom, in classroom, and even inside your own homes. Knowing you might never live long enough to see victories you were planting. Thank you for carrying hope. Thank you for carrying hope. When hope was dangerous, when your voice were punished, and when simply existing with dignity was an act of resistance. Thank you, dear Black Americans, for your fight, your courage, your persistence. I just want to say thank you. Happy Black History Month.
They started the destruction of the Black Lives Matter mural on Black Lives Matter Plaza in DC today. And I say destruction instead of reconstruction because they are actually literally destroying the street in order to just repave it. Now, it took millions of dollars to actually design this mural, and they are saying that it's going to take hundreds and thousands of dollars to actually reconstruct it. But I just want to stress again that they are actually using our tax dollars to destroy this street just to reconstruct it and redesign it, when we are literally getting ready to go into a recession. I also hear that they are going to rename the plaza as well, and as of today they have not actually confirmed that yet and confirmed the actual new name. Now, this mural is actually north of the White House, so I believe this is something that number 47 has to see every time that he flies into the White House. So of course he wants it gone. Is this helping our economy? Is this actually helping anyone save money? Do you know anyone that this is actually going to help? Let me know.
For centuries, systems like slavery and segregation in the US were built on the idea that Black people were inferior. When Black individuals achieve excellence academically, financially, culturally, it directly contradicts the narratives. Some people see success as a limit pie. So when Black communities advance, they fear losing opportunities, influence, or status. This is tied to competition. Black excellence often highlights the barriers that had to be overcome, like discrimination in education, housing, and jobs, that can make others uncomfortable because it brings attention to an unfair system according to the white race. If someone has internalized stereotype, seeing Black excellence creates mental conflicts on them, which is what I believe versus what I see. Instead of adjusting belief, some react with discomfort and resistance. Black culture, music, fashion, language has massive global influence. Think of artists like Beyonce or Jay-Z. That level of influence can feel threatening to people who are used to their local culture being dominant. Throughout history, whenever Black communities make, made progress, there were often backlash after reconstructions post-slavery era. During the civil rights movement led by figures like Martin Luther King Jr., this pattern shows that progress has sometimes been met with resistance. Media has also often portrayed Black people in limited or negative ways. When reality contradicts those portrayed, it disrupts when some people have been conditioned. Not all white people are threatened, and of which I definitely believe that, by Black excellence, but because many support it, celebrate, contribute to equality. But some white people also do not like Black excellence to reign. The issue is less about individuals and more about systems, histories. Learn, believe. Black excellence does not inherently scare people. It opposes inequality, challenges stereotypes, and shifts power structures, which can make people uncomfortable. The truth is, we Black people are winning, and no matter how hard they try to make us look like we're not doing anything, like we don't understand the system, like we are supposed to be thanking Mr. A and Mr. B, we still keep moving. This Black excellence will continue to scare them as far as we're concerned, and we will not stop. We will not change. We'll still keep doing what we know how to do best. Anyways, let me know what you think about this, and credit belongs to original creators of every single clips and stitches we have in our today's episode. I want to say a very big thank you to every single one of you liking, commenting, sharing, dropping super thanks, and also joining my membership. I do not take you guys for granted. You guys are absolutely the best. And guys, thank you so much for staying sick and hooking me to the end of this video. And yes, with that being said, with no further ado, I do like I always say in my videos, I'm going to be saying bye, and I'll see you guys in my next one. For now, bye guys. I love you guys. Mwah.